I'm Raven. In this video we're going to be creating a scale mail weaving frame. What is a scale mail weaving frame? It is a frame that you use to weave scale mail. Now, it's a relatively simple thing to put together. After all, it is some hooks and a bit of dowel. But I'm going to be making a pretty big one. I'm going to try and make a decent job of it, because I only want to build this thing once. Those of you who are watching now will soon know why I require such a large scale mail weaving frame, and if you're watching it in the future, maybe you already know, or maybe I died in a fire or something, but hey, that's neither here nor there. Let's go take a look. This very simple drawing should aptly demonstrate what a scale mail weaving frame looks like. As I said, it is an extremely basic frame, almost generic in its nature, with some carefully spaced hooks at the top from which to drape the scale mail whilst you're working on it. The one I'm going to be creating is going to be just under a meter on each dimension. If I need to make it bigger, then it will be extensible, as I will show you from my carefully selected components. The main substance of the frame is going to be built out of pine dowel. I could have used plastic tubing, but as I say, I want this thing to really last. And plastic tubing does have the downside of being quite bendy, whereas this is extremely rigid 15mm dowel. I'm going to connect the dowel using these plumbing parts, elbows and T's. You could get much thinner, weaker pieces, but I want, again, this to be nice and strong, especially if this is going to be quite large. The scale mail could get quite heavy. And finally, some steel hooks, which will be along the top bar for the scale mail to hang off. These will be spaced about 2.3 centimeters apart each, and there should be enough space for 40 or so scales wide. And since I want this to be a very permanent thing, a can of orange spray for the dowel. After all, white joints, orange bars. Those are the Lair of the Raven colours. The first step is to get our dowel down to the right size. Now, each of these is approximately 90 centimeters long, but as you will note, there is a very slight variation at each end. So we will need to just make those uniform. Looking at our shortest one, it is about, I'd say, 89.5 centimeters. Yeah, 89.5. So we want to make sure that we bring them all down to exactly the same size, otherwise the frame is going to be wonky. Then, with one of the dowel, in fact, why not make it the shortest one? We need to subdivide it into 4 pieces to form the foot of the frame. 89.5 divided by 4 is, of course, 22.375. I'm going to have to eyeball the 375 part. Wonderful. Now that we've got that down, we can just pretty confidently bring these all to length. I'm sure you don't need me to explain this bit. Dowel, saw, choppy choppy. There we go. Dowel all to the same length and split down into the smaller pieces for the bottom of the frame. Now we get to move on to a challenging and highly technical part of this whole routine, taking the stickers off the dowel. Stupid fly, you're not helping. So close, yet so far. I'm gonna need some white spirit. next stage requires little to no explanation. It's time to spray these things orange. Once I've done that... Wait, no it's not. I need to drill holes first. What am I talking about? This is the dowel that will form the top bar of the scale weaving frame, and as such we need to install hooks. We need to drill the holes for that before we paint it, and then put the hooks in afterward. Our first job is to draw a straight center line all the way down this piece of dowel. Next, we need to find the center point. Which means now we need to go 2.3 centimeters to the left and the right of our center mark. That's all of our spaces done. $37 sounds about right. Here I've set up the Dremel. I've got a 1.2mm drill bit, and I've put that into the drill press, which I've then further set to only go down just the right amount for the screws that I'm using. Obviously it's not a screw, it is a hook with a screw end, which will, once the hole is made, just screw right into each of the sockets that we have marked out. And so, without any further ado, let us begin. And now, with no further ado, we can go ahead and paint it. It's time now to get the spraying going. I've picked an orange spray paint, which is both a primer and a colour at the same time. Why not? And it was on clearance for £3. Huzzah! I've carefully separated all of the pieces of wood, and they're just on some cocktail sticks so that they are as raised up as they can be without somehow suspending them via the edges. Time to get to the spraying. There's lots of this sort of motion in this video, I do apologise. And there we have some beautifully orange pieces of dowel. All we have to do now is give this some real time to really set hard, add in the hooks, and we can put it all together. It's dead simple. The first step of putting it together, screw in the hooks. time to do the final assembly. Time to bring it all together and complete the frame. So, we've got ourselves these plumbing fittings. Insert our tube. And then lock. That's it. Simple as. The best part is, if you need to store it, you can take it apart very easily. And there you have your complete scale mail weaving frame. You simply hang your scales in and go ahead and weave them up. You could of course use, I think these fittings come in up to 22mm in size, so you could use thicker dowel. If you're worried about wobble, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely fine. If you wanted to, sure, you could probably get some sort of triangular frame structure going on. There are enhancements you could probably make to it. But all in all, didn't cost too much to put together. Didn't take too much time, and it's going to make weaving scales a lot easier. Admittedly, for something this large, you wouldn't be working on such a tiny little thing. But, as I mentioned at the start of the video, you'll soon be finding out why I'm building such a large frame. But until then, I'm Raven, and that's all from the lab. Hey, yes, helpful dog, yes. Yes.